point. That's an excellent point. I really actually ought to turn on my microphone when talking. Hello, Shakespeare. Yes, there should be sound now. Is there still not sound? Okay, good. Yes, see what happened there was I had turned on my audio output so that I could turn down the volume on it before I got started, so that the music wouldn't overpower my talking. And I only did that because I didn't want to be audible on the microphone until I was actually ready to go on. And yeah. So then I just totally forgot that I hadn't turned on the microphone and started talking. So hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel's Saturday night chill stream. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull, and we're starting a little bit early because I just kind of fucking felt like it. I've got a bunch of new stuff in reaction fodder. Yes, microphones, masks are indeed important to talk to people. I mean, unless you cultivate an audience of skilled lip readers, which I don't know if I have, they definitely don't hurt. I have to say, I love having this thing, this this overhead mic setup. It is so much easier because every other place I've had it, it was either getting my silent CPU fan. See, that's the thing. You have a really good CPU fan and a really good microphone, they cancel each other out. Because the really good microphone picks up this silent CPU fan fucking loud and clear. Van who? Oh, she's in Belfast now, is she? That's, I have to say, that's not where I would go if I was trying to avoid fascists. Yes, I did hear that. Cloudflare is also the reason that I've never been able to get a fix on the actual hosting situation of the website of my own personal turf stalker. So if they're starting to feel the heat on supporting these fash sites, that's very good news. But you know, if I were going to try to hide out from fascists in Ireland, Belfast is really not the place I'd go because that's kind of where there are. That's kind of where the most of them are. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, fuck him. Never heard of him, but he can fuck off then. Okay, let's start out a little bit of Geoguessr. You see, if I were the owner of that site, I don't know that I would necessarily want to be fucking identifiable. Because a site that is entirely dedicated to doxing and libeling people in order to incite Nazis against them, you'd want some deniability about being associated with that. I mean, Chaya Reichik, Libs of TikTok, she understands you don't necessarily want to tell Glenn Greenwald who you are. I mean, I let the public know who you are. Oh yes, of course he is. Of course he is. Okay, comptoir des cotonniers. Okay, this has gotta be Paris. But then Alfred Dunhill? Poirier, Régalade. Yeah, this feels like France. Interdit, sauf taxi. Yeah, we're in Paris. Oh, a mother and son shithead duo. That's so sweet. Okay, pretty sure this is Paris. Tartine et chocolat. Wait. Oh, okay, now what's Keller Williams? I'm sorry, I'm standing on the hose on a number of these things. Rue de Mogador. Experimentation. What kind of experimentation is going on? Neat. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this has gotta be fucking Paris. Wait, Commerzbank? But, yeah. Ah, you know Paris better than I do. Yeah, let's see. Cercle Vert, France. Okay, les banques. République Palais Royal. Forum des Arts, Centre J. Pompidou. J. Pompidou. And, oh, Mairie de l'Onzième. It is the 11th, apparently. At least it is near the City Hall of the 11th. Oh, that's... Okay, handy having you here for this, because well, the nice thing about Paris, unlike some cities with number of districts that I could mention, is that Google Maps actually has the numbered districts on the fucking map, whereas all they tell you is the name of the districts on the map of Vienna, which is really annoying because I've never memorized the names. Okay, Opéra, Place de la Bastille, Rue Sedaine, Chemin Vert, Père Lachaise. Oh, wow. I've never spent much time in Paris. I mean, I've spent a few days in Montmartre several years ago. Liked it. Didn't really, but I've never really gotten much chance to stay there. Avenue Parmentier. Okay, what streets are we looking at here? Banque Populaire. Vas-y. Rue de la Paix, Place de l'Opéra. You are spot on. Place de l'Opéra and Rue de la Paix. Okay. Place de l'Opéra, Rue de la Paix. Chemin Vert. Fontenoy. Oberkampf. In the west, okay. Okay, let's see. Les Ternes. 7e, 6e. Saint-Supplice. Rue de Seine. Port-Royal. Raspail. Jacob. Just above the Seine. Okay. Okay. Pyramide. Berger. Molière. Rue de la Paix. On y est. Rue de la Paix. Right by the Boulevard of the Italians. They get an entire... All the Italians get an entire boulevard. That's neat. Okay, there's Place de l'Opéra. And Rue de la Paix. On y est. Thank you. Your local knowledge has been very handy. Okay, so diagonally above the Louvre. Yeah, this is like the exact opposite end of Paris to where I actually know any locations of things. Tabarnak. So now I need to look again. Okay, Tuileries and Louvre. Okay, Jardin des Tuileries, Place Vendôme, Place de l'Opéra, and Rue de la Paix. On y est. 97 meters, not bad. Wait, how have I received 100 messages today with Restream chat? I don't think there've actually been that many. Have there been? Okay, now, this is definitely does not look like Paris. Got some palm trees. Kind of scuffed pavement. Tarmac. Could be Czech. I mean, definitely countryside. Yeah, not North America is my immediate sense of it. These houses don't look North American. This fence doesn't either. This feels like a European fence. Yeah, I mean, definitely not North American. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can get ourselves a street name someplace that would help narrow this down a bit. Oh, vous n'avez pas la priorité. Oh, that's very nice. That's very handy. We're still in fucking France. On est encore en France, tabarnak. Vous n'avez pas la priorité. That is the French font. And that is very handy as well, that they actually tell you who's got the right-of-way. They don't actually require you to remember it. Although, having experienced customer service in some parts of France, I will say, vous n'avez pas la priorité could be the national motto in some places. Okay, La Chapelle, chemin de Majordain, Bouc des Andrivaux, Bouc des Brunies, La Chapelle, Gonaquet. I am looking at the people who work at the station in Perpignan in particular. I mean, actually, I have to say, contrary to the rep that France gets, particularly amongst North American visitors, I've mostly had absolutely lovely experiences in France with, like, you know, with people, including people who, you know, stand behind desks and dole out information or whatever, except in fucking Perpignan. À Perpignan, c'est une chose totalement différente. I mean, that was horrible. It actually... Ara? What is that, in Catalonia? Okay, so we're in some green, wooded, country-ish area of France that describes their paths as loops, boucles, and... yeah, I don't... it's not really... and none of their landmarks are anything at all familiar to me. Oh, well. Wouldn't mind being by Bordeaux. I haven't had a good bottle of Bordeaux in ages. Okay. And you, having lived in Paris, will probably notice I do not have a Parisian accent. I started out with a Parisian accent, like pretty much everyone in the US who learned French in school initially. I learned, you know, a metropolitan accent, but then the main French-speaking place I have spent time in my life is Quebec, and that accent has just stuck to me. I could go for a bottle of Pauillac. Okay, let me see. Delancy Immobilier. It's an 0689 area code, if that means anything to you, Shakespeare. Oh wait, is this... graffiti. This reminds me a little bit about the first time I was ever in Leipzig and got lost. It was after midnight. I arrived after midnight and I had to hang out there until 4 a.m. Oh, okay, we got some proper distance signs here that I just went past. And I didn't, okay, pas de l'anglais. Pas de l'anglais, Ribérac, Monsignac, D710. Okay, pas de l'anglais, that sounds familiar to me. Oh, so you pronounce all the E's, not just the ones Parisians think you're supposed to. I like that accent, even if Parisians do take the piss out of it. My accent is fun because Parisians don't know what the hell to do with it, and so they decide it must be Belgian. They know it's a French accent. I mean, they know it's a legit French accent, but it isn't one that they actually know. So they're like, yeah, c'est pas pour t'offendre, mais t'es belge ou quoi? And I'm like, no. Okay, Ribérac, Monsignac. Où est tout ça, tabarnak? Okay, we didn't start the fire. Okay, so you're thinking Bordeaux? Yeah, okay, yeah. Pas de l'anglais. Pas de l'anglais that feels like it's something coastal as well. Bergerac. Okay. We're in the land of the axe. Bergerac, Monsignac, Tabarnak. On dira Sauterne. Oh, there's one that I fucking love some Sauterne. God, I haven't had that in ages. Le Barp. Okay, that's a great place name, Le Barp. Bon, par contre, ici, en bas, Sabre, Labrie, Arangus, La Bastille, d'Armagnac. Oh god, okay, I just want to go here and drink. I mean, it's okay, Boulac, Bazar, Aya, Langon, Sauterne, Cadillac. Péchac, Caillot, Cavignac, Surzac, Mucidon. C'était une eau de Médoc. Mirambeau, Dourambeau, Sourambeau, Mirambeau et Sourambeau, Sauvignac, Orignol. I'm just enjoying pronouncing the place names actually. At this point, Lussac, Sagny de Pile, St. Denis of Batteries, Pomerol. Oh fuck that! I haven't had that in so long. I'm like, Chad, if you ever just feel like making me very, very happy, just send me a fucking bottle of of Pomerol. Le Pizou. That sounds like a word for dick. D710. Okay, D708. D6089. 708. 730. Le Pizou. Lui ai cassé le pisou. Jeez, excellent. Bon boy. Jeez, okay, come on. Bzak. Menespli. Menesterol. Menesterol. That sounds like an estrogen preparation. Ribérac et Monsignac. Montagnac. Montastru. Périgueux. Ednac. C'est où Périgueux? Where is Périgueux? I believe it actually is IN in this case. It's just my fabulous Quebecois accent that turns it into ein. Tourzac, Touville, Périgueux. Okay, let's see. Ilmanoir, Sarliac, Montagnac. On y est. Wow, okay. Again, with the local France knowledge. Oh, Périgueux, the truffle place! Fucking hell. This is making me hungry. $32 kilometers off, not bad. Yeah, and Roquefort. I can take or leave the Roquefort, but some fucking truffles from Périgueux and some fucking like some Pauillac, some Pomerol. That sounds like a good evening. Okay, we are 99% in. Holy shit! I think we may have an actual fix on the location in Ponto Bahia. Okay, we're in Brazil. You can tell you're in. There are two places in the world that use this kind of fencing that I know of. One is South American rural areas, and the other is fucking Nazi extermination camps. It makes it a really interesting sort of experience to walk around. Uberio. Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely Brazil. And maybe it's in Bahia, maybe it's not in Bahia. The trouble is, I mean, I don't see any sign of a fucking seaside anywhere nearby, so I'm gonna say that makes me think we're talking Bahia as in more of a place name than necessarily. Yeah, and it's one of the largest states, so that's exciting. Yeah, I know. And the thing about the fucking, it's true. And they've got that fucking fencing everywhere. It's in Chile. It's in Argentina. And it's like, wow. So the places where lots of like Nazis escaped thanks to the Catholic Church and bought huge country estates just happened to pattern their fencing after Auschwitz. And I just put that together. I mean, maybe that's a coincidence. It probably is. But I have to say, it's a bit of a weird feeling walking around and seeing that kind of fencing everywhere. Okay, naturally, if we get a fix on what state it's in, it's going to be the biggest state in the country, or one of them. Okay, we've moved to more less frightening looking fencing. Okay. That is federal campaign propaganda, so not necessarily helpful. And that's a goat, and that's wonderful. I love goats. Absolutely adore goats. They make good beer. Oh god. Well, that would be easier than it seems, because a lot of Amazonas, there's no way Google Maps has gotten anywhere into it, because a lot of Amazonas is areas that basically nobody except indigenous people who are keeping very much to themselves have been to in recorded history. So actually, you would probably be better off in Geoguessr and Amazonas than just about anywhere, because it's probably going to be around Manaus. Yeah, yeah. Western Australia is the size of like Western Europe practically. It is huge, and there's a cheat code for Western Australia in Geoguessr. Scrubland, bad resolution of the images, and red clay soil as far as the eye can see. Yeah. In fact, I've seen like more like professional GeoGuessr players on Twitch actually refer to the maps that show Google Street View coverage in order to show is in order to determine what areas they can just kind of ignore when trying to pin down where a place is. Because like if you're looking in like Africa and some parts of Southeast Asia, a lot of the time there's very little of any given country that's actually okay. We could be going for a very long time before we find out where in the huge state of Bahia we are. 444 kilometers. Oh, well, it's less middle of nowhere in Brazil than I thought. It's actually closer to the coast. Four of five. Okay, this again feels very South America. I mean, it could be Central America. Actually, now I'm less certain about this. It could be Southeast Asia, too. Yeah, I mean, in some parts of West Africa, there are only like a couple of small towns. I mean, a couple of, outside of the capital city that are mapped. Okay, this looks like we've got a mosque coming up. Maybe this mosque will actually have a name and we'll know what language is spoken around here. Oh, hold on, is this not a mosque? Maybe this is a non-mosque building. Whatever it is, it doesn't seem to have a sign identifying it. I'm not sure. It feels like a mosque, but then it also feels kind of like not a mosque. I mean, I'm very confused by this building. And it doesn't help that the things on top of the towers or turrets or whatever that may be minarets and maybe are not are out of focus, so I can't tell because I thought maybe, I mean, it could be like a church as well. I mean, they like to have like pointy bits sticking up with stuff hanging on them. That's the technical architectural term as well. If you're looking at, you know, a classical permuatan. Okay, we are almost certainly in Indonesia. I don't know. These things change hands. There's a church not far from me that used to be a synagogue, and it still looks like a synagogue. Pretty, really. It was a very pretty synagogue. It was one of the nicer looking ones that there are in this city. Most of the like temples in Cincinnati are not architectural masterpieces. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking Indonesia. And I'm also thinking we're at long odds to get any more detailed information on where, in the extremely distributed country that is Indonesia, we actually are. So I'm just going to say someplace in Sumatra. And, well, naturally, we're actually in Java, 1,000 kilometers away. But this is North America. Yeah, exactly. So many shuls. There's strip mall. They're like fucking strip malls and. Or office buildings. Like my shul growing up was an office building, and we did Sunday school in like a local Catholic day school. Yeah, we are in either the US or Canada, and we will soon find out which of the two. Blackburn and McKendree. That sounds like a 1980s buddy detective show on CBS. Like right after Jake and the Fat Man. Which is just such a... Okay, we're in the US. Speed hump at 15 miles per hour. Yeah, I mean, in Cardiff, there's a lovely shul. And it's a fucking estate agents now. I mean, that's the worst thing. That's worse than, like, when the fucking Greeks turned the temple into a stable and we had Hanukkah about it. Oh, I'm glad it's relaxing. That sounds like an absolutely exhausting day. Welcome, Geoguessr. We are someplace in the United States. In one of the many totally identical fucking suburbs. And listening to the State Affairs Council Ensemble. I love in Wales, where the signs are bilingual. I learned the word for a speed hump And I love it. It is such a perfect term because it sounds exactly like the thing it is. Tumpeth. The word for a speed hump in Welsh is tumpeth, which is exactly the sound the car makes going over the damn thing. Okay. Barbona Drive. That sounds like a cartoon character they used to sell Marmite. Okay. Yes. Yes, it is. Did you see that? Because I know that word has come up a few times on my Welsh, when I do Welsh Duolingo. Is that where you picked that up, or did you just know that? Yeah, Marmona sounds kind of vaguely California. Let me see. Recology. Is that San Mateus County? Possibly? San Mateo County, something like that? Compost. Oh wow. That's advanced. I've never seen a compost bin in the US before. San Mateo County, okay. The fuck is San Mateo County? Like, the only counties I know in California are Marin County via San Francisco there, and LA County because that's an easy one because Los Angeles is there and it's also LA. Oxnard. So many small, out-of-the-way towns in California just have names that immediately just somehow automatically say suck. Like Barstow. That just sounds like a place where you're gonna get your ass kicked. Oh, okay. Neat. Thank you. San Mateo. Amtrak. I have to say, on the whole, the Amtrak route from Seattle to LA is really beautiful, and they do a beautiful job of it. Like the guards, the staff get to organize their own activities since it's a long haul, and like they have wine tastings and stuff, and the views are really pretty. You see the coast a lot. But when you're going through the Bay Area, what you see is like the worst industrial estates in Oakland. Like, not like you don't see any place in Oakland where people actually live. What you see is the derelict factories near the railway station. Okay, we're gonna say someplace in there. 17 kilometers, not bad. $20,974. Mostly because I was nowhere near the right place in Indonesia. Let's find out. In Palo Alto, apparently. In the Willows. Okay. And the time has come to look at Some PragerU children's propaganda. See, the nice thing about starting this early, I went on my exchange program to Japan with a guy from Palo Alto. You can guess which one of us was not on scholarship. Oh god, that sounds beautiful. That's a way to commute. I mean, probably not great for the national park, but okay. We've got Leo and Layla's history adventures with Officer Tatum. Is okay? Is that a name that means something to any of you? It means nothing. It feels like it could mean something to me, but I'm not sure. We've got Leo and Layla's history adventures with Teddy Roosevelt. And we've got how to prepare for a job. I'm kind of leaning towards how to prepare for a job. But I could be convinced to do one of the two wonderful Leo and Layla's historical revisionist adventures. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And you're just getting off of a shift. It's perfect for you. Okay, we're getting that audio Ausgabeaufnahme up to where it needs to be. You see, somehow my OBS defaulted to German, I think because my OS is in German. And so I don't even know what it's called in English. I mean, I can guess what I would call it if I were the one translating it. But I don't know if it's how they translated it. Okay, we're doing how to prepare for a job with PragerU.
Has anyone ever told you,
just go get a job?
But how?
Yes, and that was bullshit.
How are you supposed to do that?
Well, mostly you don't, because there are significantly more people applying for jobs than actually there are jobs available in a lot of places.
If you don't start driving down the road, you'll never get to where you want to go. So here are 4 tips to get down the road with your first job.
Oh, hey, look. They didn't put the banner on that fucks up all of their title cards. Somebody actually, like, edited this.
Number 1, find what you're good at. We all love doing different things. Maybe you...
Yes, you can find what you're good at, and then it turns out that actually there's what you're good at, and that there's what you can get paid to do.
Love eating chips, or watching TV, or eating TV and watching chips. But what do you love that people would actually pay you for? You might love singing.
What do you love that people actually like? Okay, that is not how a job search works. Nobody is doing... First of all, there are very few jobs that anyone actually would possibly love. And a lot of them don't get paid because they're like, oh, well, we expect this to be a labor of love for our employees. And so we're not going to give you time off. Who is good at dealing with upper bourgeois entitled customers who complain about their organic ice cream? I'm gonna guess. I don't know anyone by name, but I believe he was. I believe the archetype of the person who would be very good at handling that was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2.
But do other people like your singing enough to pay for it, or is love all
well, that didn't matter for Ed Sheeran.
You really got?
And I will...
Guayaguara, ¿cómo estáis? Estamos viendo un video sobre la manera de buscar pega, weón. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just like I mean, the lucrative world of communist shit posting on YouTube and Twitch.
Ow!
Yeah, no, I mean, there's just something wrong with them using fucking Dolly Parton, who sat the author of fucking 9 to 5, to make it look like just getting a job is just some fairly easy and humane experience.
Get a good sense of what skills people value enough to pay you for.
It turns out the main thing that people value enough to pay you for is just kind of standing there and getting repetitive stress injuries, mostly.
Here's a hint. It's probably not video games or scrolling through Instagram. Number 2, find mentors. Once you figure out what you want to do, go for it. But
Wait, how is this preparing for a job? I mean, this sounds a lot more like preparing for a lot of what they're talking about isn't preparing for a job. It sounds a hell of a lot more like preparing for university or preparing to find a profession or something like that, which is not remotely the same thing as trying to find employment. Oh, well, have a good night. I hope the IWW conference is going more productively tomorrow.
But don't go it alone. Find people who already know what they're doing and are willing to help.
Are you an older, more mature people?
Yes.
Good.
Figure out what makes people great at what they do. If you want to get rich, no offense, but don't ask your broke cousin for investment advice.
Well, your broke cousin might actually have good investment advice. It's not, the thing is that getting rich has nothing to do with knowing how to do anything. Most of it has to do with just having money in the first place. You can have the best fucking investment tip in the world. If you haven't got a couple of grand to drop on it, it doesn't fucking matter. Oh, you did Trogdor. I'm so glad I introduced you to Trogdor.
If you want to be a teacher, find out what great teachers do.
Great teachers leave the profession and find that just about any place pays them better and doesn't treat them as much like shit.
If you want to be a sign holder, find out what the greatest sign holders do.
There are no greatest sign holders. It's just holding a sign, and they virtually all, I'm going to guess, would rather be doing something else.
Or if you want to be a lawyer, find out what the best lawyers do. Or if you want to be a sign-holding lawyer, then you know what to do. Successful people aren't superheroes. They have the same 24 hours as you.
Well, no, well, what exactly? How are we defining successful? That's kind of an important thing if you're going to be given advice for the younger generation, to encourage them to actually say, what's your definition of success? Because I can guarantee you that a propaganda organ financed by oil billionaires does not share your definition of success. They're just talking about having a lot of money. And the secret of people who have a lot of money is that their parents had a lot of fucking money. Yes, it is. Yeah, sign holders, that is a horrible job. That would just suck.
They usually just have a lot of small successful habits that make the difference over the long haul.
Yeah, for example, rich parents. And the trick is that you combine the rich parents with the rich grandparents. And when you got that rich parent, rich grandparent combo, you're going to be pretty fucking successful. Because no matter what you are doing, no matter what ridiculous idea you decide to turn your hand to, you've got a huge safety net. Now, in some countries, there's a functioning welfare state, and the dole can act as that safety net, which is how we got musical acts such as the Beatles and the Stones and I think Tom Jones as well, because pretty much all the really great British acts of the the 60s and 70s spent the way that they managed to spend all their time practicing and doing crappy little gigs and trying to get noticed was they were on unemployment benefit the whole time, because unemployment benefit back then was way better than it is now. That's the successful habit. Either you've got a bunch of money backing you so you don't have to worry about landing on the street if you fuck up, or you live in a place where if things don't work out, there is actually a source of income, a source of backup income.
So find successful people doing jobs that you're interested in. Find out what their habits are, and
Find out what their credit card numbers are. Find out what their social security numbers are. Find out what their email passwords are.
incorporate them into your life. Number 3, work hard consistently.
Okay, and this is great. This is a good one because yesterday they were talking about how to work hard and they managed to not actually tell anyone about how to work hard. They did, however, manage to contradict themselves by saying that it is in our nature to want to work hard, and that it is in our nature to be prevented from working hard by something called the pickle of resistance, which I am not making up, and is not a vibrator.
Everybody says to work hard, but what does that actually mean?
It means doing way more work than you're being paid for. Yeah, exactly. George W. Bush failed at fucking everything. He failed way up. I mean, if you've got a couple of $1 million just lying around, you can have horrible ideas and hope that, and you can make absolutely no money with them. Yes, the pickle of resistance. This is an actual thing that they said, and the pickle of resistance is a blonde girl who has like a green shirt over her head that makes her look like the Great Cornholio from Beavis and Butthead.
You gotta work hard, bro!
What the fuck? I mean, they put no thought into this is the thing. This time, like, the graphic designers put some kind of thought into at least, like, the title cards, and they didn't put that ridiculous wow, we're being censored thing in a place where it covered up half of the text on the screen. But, I mean, these segments, fucking hell. They do not give a shit. I think that they actually just shoot these people doing fucking X and maybe a little bit of Molly, and then they just sort of edit them together in connection with these narrations, because they just clearly do not take the premise of any of this stuff even remotely seriously. They clearly do not give a shit. They're just fucking around in the studio, and I mean, if you get paid to just fucking fuck around in a studio and not really do much of anything, I mean, that I could think of worse gigs than that. I mean, if you're not doing propaganda for oil billionaires when you're doing it. Although I can't imagine anyone's mind being changed by this. It is just so badly done and uncommitted to its own premise.
Focus and determination. We all have challenges in our lives that drag us down and resist our every move. Whether it's getting out of bed.
God, this is like... This is such a white cast. I mean, it's PragerU. This should not really surprise me, but...
Cleaning your room, or solving the unsolvable Riemann hypothesis. Everybody's got problems. If you really want your dream job, you're gonna have to prove that you can handle tough challenges.
They haven't actually... We're like halfway... We're more than halfway into this, and there hasn't been any actual advice. There have been rephrasings of the objective.
When employers get up in the morning, they don't randomly throw money at people just because they feel like it.
No, other people randomly throw money at them because they need to do that in order to survive, and then they get a fraction of the money that they made for the boss in return, and then they have to go to a second job and a third job just to cover the rent, and they go in debt still anyway because...
Employers pay
Shit's
people
expensive.
to solve problems, and usually the bigger the problem, the more you'll get paid.
Yeah, that's not true. In fact, I mean, this just reminds me of one of the points that David Graeber makes in Bullshit Jobs. That actually, when you look at it, the jobs that actually involve doing an actual thing that actual people need tend to be not very well paid. Compared to jobs that aren't even really jobs, where it's just you're sort of sitting there and pushing paper and who collect a ridiculous amount of money. And he says something to the effect of, it's as if employers think that actually doing useful work should be a reward in itself and therefore does not have to be compensated.
But before you can handle the big problems, you have to prove that you can handle the small ones, like flipping burgers or sweeping floors.
That's not how that works. The people aren't like, holy shit, okay, we need somebody to I don't fucking know. We need somebody to come up with a COVID vaccine that lasts more than 5 minutes and maybe actually stops the spread of the thing. Okay, wow, you've got some very interesting credentials in terms of biotech and stuff, but you've never done any janitorial work, have you? How can we trust you to do the complex chemical and biological engineering tasks involved in developing a modern vaccine if you have never demonstrated that you are capable of sweeping a fucking floor? And I can say from my own experience that nobody has ever given a shit about whether I've never done either of those two jobs. Thank fuck. I could not last. I tried retail and I lasted one shift. And the boss came over to me and is like, yeah, I don't think this is working out. I don't think you're the right person for this. And I was like, thank fuck. Because I was not the right person for this. I was terrified I was going to knock all this expensive shit over. Because it was very narrow and you had to stand your feet all the day. I couldn't hack that. Nobody has ever given a shit since then. In the 20 years since then, no person I've ever worked for has given a shit whether I did any of that stuff.
Because all problems take hard work.
You gotta work hard, bro!
So make a commitment to work
Not all problems require hard work.
hard and do your best, whether the problems you are facing are big or small. Number 4, do your research. Many people take on jobs without actually understanding what the job really is.
Rochelle Walensky.
But getting the job doesn't do any good if you can't keep it.
You're fired!
Well, except it turns out that, there are plenty of really good jobs where you don't have to do what the job is, but they kind of keep you anyway because nobody gives a shit whether you do it or not. I like to put a bookmark in chat so that I can tell where my messages are, where new messages begin.
You actually need to know what you're doing, and that means learning everything that you can about the job. Make it your goal to become the best at what you do. Just stay humble and keep learning. In summary, if you want your dream job, you can get it.
I would say most people are given jobs with no training and expected to meet unrealistic goals. Not necessarily particularly complex goals, but goals that require way more people to be involved in doing it than actual staffing levels provide. It's just reminding me of another job that I didn't last long at. Another fucking temp job. I was talking about one of my other temp jobs yesterday, but they wanted me to answer. They needed a bilingual, secretary for this cleaning company. It was off the bus line. It was a ridiculously long walk after from the bus station. I get there, and they gave me bad directions as well. This is before Google Maps and shit, so I had to just keep on asking around. And I get in there, and it turns out they needed somebody who could use a multi-line phone. Nobody had told me this. I did not know how to use a multi-line phone. I was learning. I was gradually learning, and I did then and I do now learn that sort of thing pretty quickly. Yeah, exactly. And they just gave me no end of shit. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to hear that phone ring more than one time. It's like, nobody told me that I was going to have to use this thing. I'm learning it and nobody's teaching me how to fucking do it. And at the end of that shift, they also told me to piss off. I've had lots of bosses tell me to fuck off. It is gratifying, though, that I've also told several to fuck off myself. The corporation saves money by failing to train in high turnover, yeah. And by simply not... and by using low staffing levels as a way to put pressure on people to get them to work more than is reasonably possible for a single person. Like, they call it lean staffing, where they will deliberately understaff and then, try to pressure you to come in on your off hours and on your day off.
Just
or
be
whatever.
willing to start where you're at. It's helpful to look at your first few jobs like gas stations along the highway. Those jobs are just fuel, like skills, experiences, and new opportunities to
What skills?
keep you going towards your destination. Just hop in the car.
This did the people who do any of these people, have they actually had jobs? Is the thing? Like, have any of these people had the kind of jobs they're talking about here? Because it doesn't sound like it.
And get driving. You might pass some boring towns along the way, but you'll get there.
Thank you for watching this how-to video for PragerU. We hope you learned something new. We'll see you next time.
Well, no, I just learned confirmation of what I already knew, which is that PragerU will not give you any useful advice. Even when it comes to just telling kids how to make themselves more exploitable. They can't even do that well. Okay. So we finished that, and we're actually, it's only 12:14. We've got a fair bit of time. So I'm thinking, now we've got a few options here. We got some Xanderhole. We've got, let me see. We've got various various horrible has things. We've got Vosh asking if the right is collapsing in the U.S. On the tail end of him saying that the right is taking over, which is, to be fair, more accurate. Yeah, we've got, or we can continue this Ask Me Anything, where Haz is just sort of nodding along to literal Nazis, and we're all supposed to think that this does not actually raise any suspicion about the actual political allegiances of, say, Caleb Mopp and his close associate. I am open to all sorts of options. Any particular preferences in chat? Oh, I didn't do too much. I didn't go in too much for speculation. I mean, I have a feeling we have not seen the last of him. But beyond that, I don't know. I think he's probably going to take his time. I mean, especially because he's just surrounded by all the assholes and naive people he managed to surround himself with have dumped him, except for Haz, who is just absolutely just rank as fuck. Oh, hello, Phoenix Rising. It's like Xanderhall is the magic word. I say Xanderhall and you pop up. You're the Xanderhall Beetlejuice. Okay, we got a bunch of different options, Xanderhall-wise. We've got Xanderhall acting like it's surprising that he would agree with Ben Shapiro. We've got him slagging off Yeah, well, I wonder about that. I mean, that would really be something if Jimmy Dore looks at the shitstorm that has emerged around Caleb Maupin and decides to continue hitching his wagon to his star. Or we've got Dark Brandon is rising. Jesus. Okay, so okay, I guess I'm gonna do Dark Brandon is rising just because that sounds so fucking cringe.
He is rising. He cannot be stopped, and you will not be safe
Do I even dare ask?
in his America.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I mean, that's just true. Joe Biden is horrible. We are not safe in a country ruled by him because he's a no, he's a white supremacist who has been just sucking up to Wall Street for his entire fucking career and has decided to see just how nostalgic he can make us for the disaster management qualities of fucking George W. Bush. Yeah, that sounds right. Zombie apocalypse. I mean, that kind of feels like his COVID management. That is the preferred face mask of Atomwaffen. Before Nazis decided that they were going to be all anti-mask, they were making cloth masks that look like that. Yes, I God, I wish Empanada would stick to doing stuff that is actually good. Because when he does good stuff, it is really good. Like, I mean, he's done some excellent stuff on like critical source analysis and everything, but then he turns around and decides to do shit on subjects he doesn't know anything about and says just utterly ridiculous shit about. And I just wish he would stop doing that. No more bourgeois malarkey. And the funny thing is, you know who uses the word malarkey a fair bit? The Korea Central News Agency, the English language press releases of North Korea's official press release agency, like to use the word malarkey. No, I mean, there's also one on here. Maybe we've even got time to do more than one. Tie me to a missile and fire it at the suburbs. I am ready. I mean, I like that first bit. There's one of... I noticed there is one, actually, of Xander Hole having a go at Empanada, and that could be entertaining. Maybe we'll manage to do two. I started early. Okay, who is that? That looks familiar, but the face does not...
For all those of you who voted for President Trump, there's no way out.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get Trump whether you like it or not.
There we go. So, you've been introduced to possibly the best meme of the year. I'm laying my foot...
Well, if Xander Hole says it's the best meme of the year, then what we can be fairly sure about is that Nazis are gonna like it. That's what that means. If he likes it, that means fascists like it.
Foot down. I'm putting my foot down strong and firmly on this. This is the best meme of the year. The Dark Biden meme. So, it's no secret. Joe Biden is a bumbling, gaffing, kind of old fool in the eyes of most people. He's not the greatest at public speaking, especially these days.
He's a fucking sex pest. He literally spent his career in the Congress where his closest relationships were with the literal fucking Jim Crow caucus of the Republican Party. He's the reason. He's one of the main reasons that we can't just discharge our fucking student loans at bankruptcy, like we can with basically every other kind of credit.
And most
we can
people
get.
don't look at him, sincerely as being this strong political, like left wing,
Well, yeah, he's not left wing. He is a right wing piece of shit.
this flag carrier of the left. No one genuinely sees him that way, except for very hardcore Democrats, I guess.
No, yeah, I don't think even they do. First, I mean, the only people I've ever heard describe Joe Biden as left wing are like Republicans and fucking white nationalists, but I repeat myself.
Yes. However, he is the best we fucking have.
No, he fucking isn't. Like, first of all, who's we? I don't have him. He's not I mean, we don't have him. The best we fucking have is ourselves. That's like literally all we've got. And if there's any fucking lesson to be derived from the past 20 years of escalating disasters and the ruling class just basically shaking their hands and going, yeah, okay, you're fucking on your own. I mean, we're on the anniversary of Katrina. And I remember when everyone thought Katrina was the worst it was going to get. And wow, it was not the worst it was going to get, said the narrator. I mean, not even fucking close. I mean, now we've got Jackson, Mississippi's out of water, and the feds aren't doing shit. The official like government advice is that people there need to shower with their mouths closed, as if their mouths are the only holes that this toxic water can get into. I mean, doing literally less than nothing about COVID. Doing nothing would be an improvement, because doing nothing would not be lying to people and telling people it's okay to just do all this high-risk behavior. I mean, the equivalent of this would be like if during the AIDS crisis of the 80s, Ronald Reagan went out to encourage people to have unprotected sex in the bathhouses.
And part of having to deal with the best you really have is kind of joking about the situation you're in.
Okay, what does he even mean, the best we really have? I mean, like, every fucking Starbucks union organizer is more genuinely someone we have and better than that piece of shit. Okay? Every person who, I mean... Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did... Oh, wow, it looks like ink. I hadn't seen the water. I've been hearing that they don't have water. Because that seems to be just the thing that the U.S. does now, is just let these poorer communities or black communities just go without drinking water. Oh, Xander Hole is, his thing is that he used to be a Nazi, and he makes money off the fact that he used to be a Nazi, when in fact, he actually kind of still is one. Like, he still spreads all sorts of anti-Semitic shit. He uses all sorts of white nationalist talking points. He hangs around with fucking Foch. Yeah, I mean, he's a piece of shit.
And seeing as Biden, to be fair, is actually doing better as president than I think a lot of people thought he'd do.
No, okay, who's a lot of people? Because I have to say, I had no expectations of the man going in, and he has actually managed to underperform the expectation that he would do nothing, that he would just be roughly as bad as Trump, but somewhat more competent at it. And he's managed to be worse than that. Like, if you've gone from being a Nazi to supporting a white supremacist rapist politician who is so thoroughly in Wall Street's pocket that you could fucking pick the lint out of his nose, then I don't think you've made all that long of a journey.
Like, come on, let's be real. Has Biden not done better as president than many of you expected?
No, he hasn't. He's done worse. And that was hard.
He's actually done a decent job.
No, he fucking hasn't. A decent job would be to at least do the bare minimum. And the bare minimum, at this particular moment in history, means you level with people, you say, yeah, you've been completely lied to about COVID for the past couple of years, and we need to level with you because the situation is extremely dangerous, and we're going to have to send, you need to wear some masks. We're going to send you quality masks, the ones that we know definitely do work. And we're going to test the shit out of you so we can actually get an accurate handle on what's going on. And, maybe spend a couple of $100 billion that would otherwise go to bombing people in order to improve the ventilation. That would be the bare minimum in this situation. He did not do the bare minimum. He has done less than the bare minimum. He has created a situation in terms of COVID where COVID denialism has gone from being something Nazis did and liberals laughed at to something liberals and Nazis do together. He has killed a huge number of people as a result of that. Oh, hello, Sir John Andrew Williamson. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before.
Other than, like, people try to pin the gas prices and the inflation on him, but there's no evidence that it's his fault.
Well, no, I mean, that's bullshit. But there are some things that are his fault, like the fact that we still got the fucking concentration camps and that we're building more, that the wall is still being built, that refugees are still not being allowed to come into the United States in order to make their asylum claims, that, that we're just sort of letting huge numbers of people die of COVID, and the only response from the federal government has been to change the definition of what a COVID death is, to slow the process down, in order to make detection even less accurate than it already was. I mean, and then sort of like stringing us along on the student loan thing, only to come up with taking 10 grand off of our student loans, which will not affect most people's payments at all, except in the sense that they will probably have to pay taxes on it as income.
These are things out of his control, and he's even taken very strong action to change it and make it better, and they've worked. He's been pretty proactive.
What has worked? What has worked? I mean, the prices are still through the fucking roof. And in fact, and nothing is being done about that. I mean, the main thing in that so-called Inflation Reduction Act was to require literal oil drilling.
I mean, he's not perfect by any means, but he's done a
Jesus Christ. I mean, he's just a Democrat shill. This is, like, even worse. He's not perfect by any means. He's not even decent. He is Trump but more articulate. Well, he could not actually, I mean, he, by executive action, could not actually absolve all of the private debt that working class people have, because that runs into the contract clause of the Constitution. What he could do, what the Democrats, with their control of both houses and the presidency, could do, is change the bankruptcy code to make it really fucking easy for us to discharge all of this debt that we're carrying around. Oh, yeah, I mean, college debt, I mean, that would, except it would only help people if we actually did not have to pay tax on it, because otherwise, like, we're gonna end up paying tax on money we've never seen. On, like, fake money that has only changed hands on a computer.
decent enough job. So more or less the left has decided, or at least the funny parts of the left, have decided to adopt a new meme. A meme
the funny parts of the left, which is to say, when you hear them described as being part of the left, you have to chuckle a little bit because it's funny to think that these people in this moment of crisis are what a certain segment of the population actually thinks are part of the left. It's funny in that sort of holy shit, what the fuck timeline is this? We're all doomed sort of a way.
Meme that is meant to sort of, in a way, poke fun at Biden. There's obviously, it's very tongue-in-cheek. It's not genuinely praising Biden. It's meant to be ironic. It's very much like the, talking about how great Morbius is when people would, like, make the memes about Morbius outselling every other movie.
Oh, he's, like, walking this back. I think he's realized that... that he's actually taken this even farther than even his fucking audience will accept. Because he's now, like, he's like, oh, no, well, they're not really praising him or anything. I mean,
and it's like the joke is that the movie's awful, but people are pretending it's good, That's part of the Dark Brandon joke. But that's not all of it. The part of the Dark Brandon joke that makes it so perfect, so good, possibly the most golden, freshly minted...
What I love about this, the only reason I even know that Dark Brandon is a fucking thing, is that I got a YouTube recommendation of Fosh talking about Dark Brandon. And naturally, the little fucking talking piece of lint that lives in Fosh's back pocket is immediately declaring it the best meme of all time. Yeah, exactly. I mean... And not only that, it's not just that they've... Because there's more than one way to calculate how much profit one is extracting from the working class. I mean, like, China is also extracting profit from the working class. But they've realized that if the Communist Party of China have realized that if they do it the way the US is doing, and take this very short-term view, where nobody gives a shit about what's going on beyond next quarter, then they will have societal collapse on their hands. So they're taking a very long view. Here, we're taking a very, very short-term view, and we're just having our disaster and eating it too. So there are two different ways of extracting profit from workers, and two different ways of calculating it. Here, the capitalist class here, they just want it right now. They have absolutely no fucking patience to wait for anything. They can't even take a bath for 2 quarters while we try to take care of a fucking lethal, debilitating pandemic. Because that's too long to wait.
Fresh-baked, glorious, fluffy, white bread, fresh out of the oven. I'm thinking about freshly baked bread right now, so
Well, white bread sounds right.
Can't stop describing that for some reason. This is what happens when you get stoned on stream, chat. Just this fresh fucking meme. The reason why this is so effective is the
Effective at what?
reaction that it gets out of the right.
I thought it was coming from the right. You telling me it's not coming from the right?
Or better, or more so should I say, that it is a response to the right, and how good of a response to the right that it is.
Joe Biden is part of the right, though. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whereas, like, Chinese state capitalism is taking a view that maybe we should be looking a little bit further down the road, which is why they are not taking any fucking chances on long COVID. And it's also why, despite having more than 3 times the population of the US, they have nowhere near the cases and nowhere even remotely close to the fatalities.
So, for those of you guys who haven't seen it yourselves, the right is kind of terrified of Biden.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. This is actually true about the new IRS agents. It's like the new cops as well. I mean, well, the IRS agents are also cops. And, see, I mean, I hate doing this because fuck Ted Cruz so many different ways. Yeah, he's just such a piece of shit. But if you actually look at the breakdown of who the audit strategy of the IRS that is supposed to be implemented using the new IRS agents are, it's all people making less than 200 grand a year. Which is to say, the people who... the 90% of the population that's actually not doing great, and not the people who are cheating on the overwhelming majority of the taxes. Yeah, I understand that you mean the capitalist class.
Or at the very least, they act like they are. Here's a tweet from Ted Cruz. The Manchin-Schumer bill will create
Like, if Joe Manchin's name is on the bill, you know it's going to be bad, okay?
Oh my god, why are you auto-playing? What the hell? The Manchin-Schumer bill will create 87,000 new IRS agents to...
Create them, though? Like, what? I thought they were gonna hire them. What, they've got, like, some sort of, like, goo, like, on the Matrix, and they pull the IRS agents out of them? Or is it like, or is it like the way Agent Smith works, and everybody just sort of turns into Agent Smith when they need it? Like, what's with creating eight new IRS agents?
Target regular, everyday Americans. Stop Biden's shadow army now.
I mean, that's...
Shadow army, okay. You made that sound... How do you make funding for the IRS to hire more employees sound like the setup for a World of Warcraft expansion?
Actually, it sounds more like that game where you're delivering fucking tomatoes to the mayor. I forget the name of it. Anna Rudolph plays it sometimes.
That's what he just did. Ted Cruz is an enigma. I mean, he is, you know, from the Zodiac, from being the Zodiac killer to being governor of Texas to being a lolcow on the internet. He really does have a broad.
That's not what an enigma is.
Resume. I needed to squeeze in a Ted Cruz as the Zodiac killer joke in here somewhere. I'm sorry. It was. You
know, maybe because you see, he realized that this material isn't exactly wowing.
It was rough, but I had to do it.
Oh, we feel so bad for you.
Wait, I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Shadow Army, here's some good news. Apparently, both the police and the military have been falling short of their recruiting goals for quite some time now, and they're starting to consider it a problem. I mean, honestly, fuck the Manchin-Schumer bill, though. I mean, they try to sell it as a climate bill. The renewable energy section of it actually requires a commensurate amount of new oil drilling for every renewable initiative that is funded. It's a disaster.
Oh my god. How do you make Biden look that cool? How do you make Biden look that fucking cool? You don't even have to make this into a meme. Like, by the way, I want to...
Well, you see, you're a fucking online influencer, supposedly a left online influencer. Why don't we talk, instead of having this talk about fucking dark brand and this bullshit, why not talk about what's in the so-called Inflation Recovery Act, the IRA, why not talk about that? Why not talk about why it is that Joe Manchin, who is just fucking a walking fossil fuel, apart from being the Democratic Party's current rotating villain, why he's so keen on having this thing passed. Because that should immediately raise some fucking alarms that this isn't a good thing, because Manchin is on the wrong side of everything.
I wanted you to know, juxtapose that with the Dark Brandon meme that we just watched. How much of a difference is there, really?
Yeah, and this is good? Why? Like, what the fuck is this? This is so pointless.
You can't tell, like, if I showed you one of those videos and then the other, I don't feel like you'd be able to tell which one is genuine conservative propaganda and which one isn't. I hope Biden.
I'm actually kind of surprised that either of them wasn't. I mean, the thing is that if it's making Biden look good, it literally is conservative propaganda. He spent much of his time in Congress. His campaigns, he would say he was the only real conservative in the race. That was his thing, that he was the real conservative.
Biden's shadow army includes all of the.
Oh god, that scared me. His mouse cursor is visible in the bottom right of the screen, and it wasn't moving. And, well, I was moving my mouse, and I thought that this was the third mouse in 2 days that has died on me in the middle of a stream.
The cringy leftists that the rightoids have made fun of for years. Dark Big Red. Let's go, Dark Big Red.
What the hell is Dark Big Red? I mean, if it's like some kind of extra spicy version of the cinnamon gum, I'm there for it. I love that stuff. I mean, we were talking about Bordeaux, and I mean, another big red thing that I like is that fucking gum. And fun fact, if you have friends or family in Europe, and you wondering something inexpensive to bring them that will make them happy if you ever visit them or something, fucking cinnamon gum. Big red cinnamon gum is, I don't know why it is, but they don't have it over there. I've never seen it over there, but everybody loves it. And don't ask me, I mean, that doesn't make actually a whole lot of sense to me, because if everybody loves it, you'd think that there's obviously a market for it. Because, like, everybody I know in, like, every European country where I know people wants the stuff. Loves it and wants me to bring it to them, whenever I'm popping over or whatever. But they don't have it, which kind of makes me wonder what horrible fucking toxic chemical is in there that the EU will not allow on the shelves, because I can't think of any other reason it wouldn't be there. But I mean, I'm not saying I know. Don't take that as fact. That is rank speculation. I don't know. I have no idea. It just doesn't make sense to be any other way. But that might not be the case. But I mean, we're talking about Big Red. I will talk about just about anything to not listen to Xanderhole. That's where we are. This is dark Xanderhole, and I'm trying to crawl out of it by talking about fucking chewing gum.
Big Red comes back for revenge. Okay. You know it's a good meme and it's working when even the Democrats, the fucking Senate Democrat Committee, plays into it.
How does that mean that it's a good meme? What do you mean even the Senate Democrats, for fuck's sake? Of course the Senate Democrats are going to play into something that makes Joe Biden look cool. They've been trying to find a way to make Joe Biden look cool for years. Of course they're gonna fucking play into that. It just like, I mean, when fucking right-wingers were calling Obama a communist and whatever, I mean, the Democrats reveled in the fact that the right-wingers were freaking out. But I mean, but the thing is, that's what the right-wingers are paid to do. Their entire propaganda strategy is to freak out over right-wing Democrats, who they actually mostly agree with.
This is fucking real. This is actually real.
Well, I mean, yes, if the fucking Twitter social media manager of the Senate Democrats likes a meme, then clearly it is something the left should love.
This is what we need more of. This right here. Let me do it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, this guy, we're supposed to think that we're supposed to, like, welcome this guy onto the left. He insists on it. He says, ex-Nazis should not be questioned at all. They should not have to earn leftist trust. They should be allowed immediately into left spaces. And here he is, all he's doing is just fucking sharing propaganda for the Democrats. Jesus, he's just, wow. I mean, it's like I was saying earlier on, he was like, yeah, I mean, can't you say that Joe Biden has exceeded your expectations and He did, and I said that he did, but in the other direction. It's the same thing with Xanderhole. I expect nothing of him. I expect less of him than I expect of Foch. And Foch is just the complete ignoramus whose only thing that he knows how to do is that he can talk quickly and calmly in an authoritative sounding tone. And because he's a white guy, that immediately makes people think that he might possibly know what he's talking about, when in fact he has never read a fucking book in his life. And Xanderhole is less than that. And yet he manages to continue underperforming my decidedly low expectations every time. Jesus Christ.
Thank you. That's what we need more of right there. This is fucking fantastic. This right here is what we
No,
need
it
to see
isn't.
more of. I'm sorry. I'm not saying
You should be.
that memes like win elections or anything.
Maybe winning elections is not the thing we should be caring about. I mean, we've got all these fucking genocidal laws being passed in order to, terrorize trans people, particularly trans kids. We've got abortion is being criminalized all over the place. The Democrats' response to this is to throw more cops at it, because, that'll make everything better, having more cops to enforce the horrible fucking murderous laws that are being passed on their watch and that they're not doing anything to stop. And he's worried about their midterm chances. Well, guess what? There's no reason to worry about their midterm chances, because the Democrats have guaranteed that they will get their asses handed to them. It will be an absolute upset if they win these midterms. And there is a long-standing pattern as well with the Democrats and the midterms. When the Democrats have the White House and Congress, they don't have Congress for long. And there's a reason for that. The Democrats are most appealing to voters when they are not in a position to actually put up or shut up. When they can just talk about things that people might like, but they can't do anything, they're extremely popular, and they win. Then they win the big federal elections. They win, control of the House or the Senate or both, and the White House. But when they've got all of that, then they don't want to actually do anything, and so they spend the entire time making excuses for why they're not doing any of the things that people need. And, well, the 30% of the electorate that regularly abstains because they're poor and they see absolutely no point in anything, they suddenly, sometimes they'll make an exception when it looks like maybe the Democrats are going to do something progressive that'll help them. I mean, because that is who, when the poor 30% who abstain, when they do vote, it's almost always for Democrats. And so they'll do that, and then the Democrats give them absolutely no reason to come out during the midterms, and the Democrats lose the midterms. So if they win these midterms, especially on this just absolutely just disgraceful record that ought to result in fucking crimes against humanity trials just for what they've done on COVID alone, not to mention fucking Jackson. That's just evil. The whole thing is so fucking evil. But if they do that, that will be the absolute biggest upset around. And I would... anyone who's giving odds on that, that ought to be 100 to 1 odds. It is an extremely unlikely thing. Not least because fewer people vote in the midterms. And the farthest right-wing parties happen to have the people who have the strongest belief in the validity of the electoral system as a means of imposing their interests, of asserting their interests. So the Republicans don't actually suffer from mass abstention. So, but to be making this about, we've got people fucking dying here, and he's talking about the midterms?
But it's kind of important for a political movement to have control of the cultural landscape.
The Democrat, a political movement?
So, here in America at least,
Why exactly should the Democrats be the political movement with control of the cultural landscape?
have freedom of speech. You don't have the government coming to your door and like kicking it down and pulling you away in handcuffs if you criticize the president or anything like that.
Well, yeah, but if you like protest the inauguration, you may face 60 years in prison. If you are part of a nationwide uprising against police terror, you may be facing decades in prison for that. If you are a socialist or an anarchist, that fucking Joe Biden has declared both terrorist ideologies, for fuck's sake. I mean, yeah, so, yes. There, in terms of the legal freedom of speech, the US is actually better on that than a lot of places. Even though that does not mean a lot because you don't really have access to platforms. And if you do anything that even begins to threaten people in power, which Xanderhole does not, then Jesus Christ, he's got Xanderhole pillowcases. Like, that is just a vaginal desiccant right there. Xanderhole. You see those on the bed, and it's like, holy shit. Yeah, it's time to have a headache. In fact, it's time to just kind of forget everything, just get the fuck out of there without even bothering with excuses. Jesus Christ. But yeah, this is wow. You know, he gets worse every time. I mean, it's like either he's saying like fast shit, or he's just saying Democrat shit. And the thing is, those things get closer every day.
We have freedom of speech. Conservatives know that they aren't having their freedom of speech taken away when they advocate for the things they advocate for, no matter how much they lie, or how much they, spread harm or, knowingly try to.
Yeah, they're not the ones who actually have to worry about that stuff. They're not the ones who get banned. I mean, and they don't have to worry about big tech, even though they love to talk about how they're being censored by big tech. When once in a while one of these platforms decides to enforce their TOS against somebody who has serially breached it. I mean, it is people on the left, particularly people of color on the left, who are the ones who actually face any kind of serious attack from above for speaking their minds.
To spread propaganda. It doesn't matter. They know they're not going to lose their freedom of speech. At worst, they'll lose their platform. And there is always a way around that if you're smart and you have the money. And a lot of them do.
And aside from that, these platforms don't like to enforce TOS against right-wingers, which is why Xanderhole still has a fucking account.
So, with that in mind, you have to realize that the left kind of needs...
He's been talking about the Democrats, and now he's talking about the left. Is he going to say that the Democrats and the left are the same thing? Because, pro tip, they're fucking not.
To be able to have a consequence for certain ideas that isn't legal, right? Like, think about it.
A consequence for certain ideas that isn't legal.
You can't take away someone's right to speak because they're a racist bigot, but you can disincentivize bigoted racist behavior in society.
Actually, I mean, if you're taking the formal, approach to First Amendment law as your guide, and he does seem to be doing, then retaliation is also out. Because if you experience retaliation for protected speech from a state actor, then you can also sue them and potentially win. So, like, the minute you're accepting the idea that we should be centering everything around the notion of freedom of speech as laid down in the First Amendment as the left, you're already kind of giving the game away, because we're not the state.
By making it socially unacceptable. There's no rules or laws or punishment necessarily for engaging or speaking in a certain way. It's just looked down on, much like taking a shit on the side of the road in public in front of
The thing is, it doesn't necessarily particularly matter if it's looked down on, if the people being looked down on have fucking money and power.
a bunch of people is looked down on. That's also illegal. I don't know. Just like, I don't know, being very crass in public. Like, I don't know, just swearing a lot and being really gross in the way that you're talking is seen as a public taboo. It's something that just people kind of look down on you for.
What is
Racism,
even
sexism,
on here?
homophobia, transphobia. These things should
Racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, those are like his hobbies here, Xanderholes.
be seen the same way. And a big part of that is the left. This is very harsh wording, very strong wording, but the left dominating the culture. And the way you do that is by making your political movement look good. And
No, it isn't. That isn't how you do it. Like, this is the ridiculous thing about Xanderhole. I mean, there's so many ridiculous things, and we're, like, kind of running out of time here. But, okay, I mean, there are lots of ridiculous things about him, but the main one is, his whole claim to fame is that he was a Nazi, and now he claims he no longer is one. Despite saying all kinds of fashy shit all the time. And somehow, the fact that he has a political CV that includes the one of the rarest and worst and most comprehensive failures of political and moral judgment that a person could possibly commit, one that even most right-wingers stop short of committing, he's decided to parlay that into a fucking career where he makes money on the internets to give people fucking political strategic advice, a subject that he does not know anything about. He manages to know less than Vosh on this subject, if that's possible. And yet here he is, like, oh well, the key to winning in a political movement is you have to look good. No, that's not how any of this happened, and it's not so much the left that won the battles on homophobia and transphobia. I mean, to the extent you can even say we've won the battle on transphobia and homophobia, that, yeah, I mean, the homophobia has not gone away. We do not actually have any kind of specific statutory right, anti-discrimination laws. The Democrats have refused to use even a little bit of political capital to provide us just basic legal protections. That was mostly the people who were directly affected fighting tooth and nail to make that unacceptable. Like, some organized left groups came along and were part of that and were in solidarity from the start, and some, like, realized which way the wind was blowing and decided to join in later. But primarily, it was the people who were targeted getting together and saying they weren't going to take it anymore that actually made the difference on all of that stuff. But he doesn't know anything about that because he doesn't know fucking anything. He only knows bisexual lighting and making money off being an ex-Nazi. Well, not actually being ex. And with that, it is time. It is 1 o'clock, and it is time for me to turn back into a seagull or something. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you've had a good evening. And I will be back next Friday at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, or possibly even earlier. And we will continue with this, I don't know if I can continue with this fucking video. This is just, like, nauseating. But we'll find something, we'll continue this, or we'll find something else. And play Geoguessr and do our thing, and I look forward to seeing you all. Thank you so much to everybody who made chat so lively. I feel like there's actually a thing that is beginning to happen here, just a little tiny bit, and I love that. So, thank you to everyone for joining, and I look forward to seeing you next week.